are Locked On Cowboys, your daily Dallas Cowboys podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked on Cowboys. Locked on Cowboys.
Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast. I am Marcus Mosher. He is Landon McCool. And today we are talking about the Cowboys' wild card loss to the San Francisco 49ers. Landon, how did you deal with the loss after the game?
Not well, I'll tell you that. I kind of had, that whole last end of the game sequence was so frustrating. And at the end of the game, I basically, near the end of the game, I basically got off Twitter. And then after the game, I kind of just wandered around my place just aimlessly. I think at some point I ended up in a bathrobe on the couch, and my wife kept on commenting that every single time she saw me, I had gotten progressively flatter and flatter and flatter on the couch. Until finally I was just like a pile of dirty laundry on the couch, basically. Yeah. So not well. How did you handle it?
About the same. We had a snowstorm here last night.
Yeah.
Actually, it's going on right now. We're getting like 24 inches of snow in the last 24 hours. So, went over to a cousin of mine and watched the Steeler game with about 30 Steeler fans. Yeah, it was.
Well, it's good to watch them suffer then, I guess, a little bit.
Well, I walked in when TJ Watt was walking into the end zone with a fumble for the touchdown. It's like, oh, great. Man. This is the way the day's going to go.
Man.
But no, the Chiefs at least salvaged part of it. All right, Landon, we got a lot to get to today.
Yeah.
The Cowboys do fall to the 49ers by 6 in a game that was just very strange. Yeah. What is your biggest takeaway from this game?
Oh, are we talking about just from the game itself? Or
yeah, let's just do from the game, and then we'll do like with the franchise.
I think it's kind of in some ways tied together in large swaths. I am definitely the optimist on this show, or at least purported to be. And and my whole thing is that I like to see things play out before I make judgments. This team was given multiple opportunities, different times to kind of for me to say, look, they still have opportunities to get this together, still have time to get this together. That whole first half was so deflating, in every sense of the manner, just because it was. At the very least, you wanted them to come out. You wanted to see them come out and do something different, or at least have a level of urgency that was appropriate to what the situation was.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like they rolled out the same vanilla game plan that they had been rolling out the last month and a half. I felt like the execution was poor, almost across the board, especially on offense. And then by the time that the defense kind of got it together to make some stops and kind of save things a little bit, the Cowboys offense was provided at least 3 or 4 opportunities to kind of get this game, tied up or gain control of the game. And they couldn't do it. And they just didn't have they were given opportunity after opportunity, and they just couldn't do it. And that was incredibly frustrating to watch, knowing the players that this team has on there, and knowing who San Francisco was missing. They lost Nick Bosa early in this game, and the fact that the Cowboys were still unable to do anything on offense for most of the game, up until 2 minutes left to go in the third. That's just it's inexcusable. It was incredibly frustrating to watch, and it was just disgusting because it was an opportunity that doesn't come along very often. And if the Cowboys are going to continue to play like this, it probably won't come along very often, in the future either.
Yeah, we'll talk about the future of this team today and through the next 100 shows that we're going to do, right? I really feel like people are talking about this game in the wrong way. And we're so focused on that end of the game sequence, and I get it. It's because it's the last play of the game. And you can argue the Cowboys made the right play call there. The ref should have been up there ready to kneel or to get the ball and ready to go. I mean, we could talk about that.
I got to ask because I have not been on Twitter at all. Is that like the main?
Oh yeah, that's
focus of
all people are talking about
really?
today. Is
Okay.
whether that was a good play call, whether the Cowboys were ready for that, and everything. To me, this game really comes down to the last 2.5 minutes, right? You have the ball, first down, 1st and 10 from the 49ers 46-yard line with 2.5 minutes left. And that drive goes Dak sack on first down, drop by CeeDee Lamb on second down. The play would only gain like 3 yards anyways. 3rd and 11, Dak throws the ball out of bounds intended for Ezekiel Elliott, but Tyron gets a holding call. And then 4th down, an incomplete pass to Cedric Wilson. Like, that's the game right there, right? Like, you have every opportunity. Like, if you're the Cowboys and you have a chance to win this game in San Francisco territory with 2 minutes left and 3 timeouts, and you don't even gain a yard, in fact, you lose yardage, that's where the game is won and lost, right?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You were given 2 different opportunities there. 2 different opportunities.
The last one.
Well, I mean, yeah, you shouldn't even have had the last one.
The last one was the 49ers giving you a chance, right?
Yeah, and you shouldn't even have had that, and they still couldn't, avail themselves of it. I mean, look, I don't know. I seriously have not seen any of the discourse on Twitter. So talking about the last play, I mean, to me, they should have had 1 second left. In fact, I'm looking at the I can't believe this, but I'm looking at the what do you call it? The full play-by-play.
Yeah,
and literally on the last play, it says Dak spikes the ball with 1 second left. That's the play of the final play of the game. Look, I mean, it's hard to feel. I have a hard time, being ticky-tacky about some of the ref stuff in this particular game because there was still some questionable stuff, and were they calling it equally? That's going to be part of the game, but I mean most of the Cowboys penalties were all pre-snap, and I mean, they can call Trent Williams for false start or not, but that doesn't affect whether or not the Cowboys get called for pre-snap penalties, right?
Yeah.
So, that honestly was a huge part of this game, and obviously killed certain drives. But the fact is that even when provided the opportunity, the Cowboys couldn't make the plays. The guys that needed to be big time in this game, seemingly didn't show up at different points, and the guys that you needed to play like your superstars just didn't.
I want to talk about that because I think that's one of my biggest takeaways from this game. But before we do that, let's tell you guys about Built Bar. It's the new year, so that means New Year's resolutions. If yours is about getting fit or eating healthier, make sure you include Built Bar in your plan. Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate with 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Go to built.com and use promo code LOCK15 and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com. All right, we were talking about superstars not playing to their ability in this game, and really that's one of my biggest takeaways, right?
Yeah.
We can start with Dak. I mean, I think it's pretty fair to say this is easily Dak's worst playoff performance he's had in his career. One of the worst performances he's had, I mean, in a long time, right? He had 254 passing yards in this game, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 5 sacks, a fumble, took some sacks he didn't need to have, just didn't play well. But he's not the only one. Tyron Smith allowed 6 pressures in this game, had 2 holding calls. Zach Martin had the most pressures allowed in his career, 4 in this game. Lyle Collins was up and down. Connor Williams had a big holding penalty. Randy Gregory had 3 penalties in this game. I mean, it's just your stars needed to show up, and they didn't.
They just didn't. And I mean, it's just an unfortunate, terrible thing. But there's just, and look, I mean, I think it's time we start having a conversation about CeeDee Lamb, man. Like, I don't know what's going on with him, but the guy has not been able to kind of take the step that we all look. He had 1,100 yards. He had a great season, I think, generally speaking. But I think those 1,100 yards, based on the number of targets that he received, he has got to find some efficiency in his game. And overall, I mean, we'll talk about. I keep trying to drift off into like a post.
We'll save that for the last segment. Let's finish up talking about this game.
Even still in this game, within this game, like they gave CeeDee Lamb 5 targets and he could only convert 1 for 21. That drop, you say that wouldn't have been a lot of yardage on that second 11 drop, but I mean honestly, it probably would have been enough that they could have gotten at least better play calls out of the next 2 plays that they had, right? Like it would have been 3rd and probably 6 instead of 3rd and 11. So you just you need your good players to play well, and at least. And I think to me, that's what happened again in this game is that once again, the Cowboys offense just didn't have anything that they could rely on. I mean, they just didn't have any single aspect that they could spam in order to kind of get easy yards and create easy situations. And honestly, that's, the takeaway that we've had for weeks. It just feels like this offense is not making it easy on anybody. You have to, in order to even get to the 17 points that you were able to score, you're having to have your punter throw first downs on fake punts and you're trying to throw laterals and stuff. Look at all the trick play crap that they tried to throw out there and they still couldn't even score points. It's pathetic. It is pathetic. Like the trick plays are fun and everything, but you shouldn't have to call those when you have all these great players on this team. And the fact that they can't scheme up an offense to score more than 20 points in a wild card playoff game at home with all these players on this team is, I mean, it's an indictment on the play calling. It's an indictment on the players themselves, and doesn't leave you in a great spot for where you go forward from here.
Yeah, I wanted to point out one more sequence in this game that I really feel like hurt them. So 1st and 10 at the San Francisco 36-yard line. This is with 13 minutes left. This is the play where the Cowboys had to take the delay of game because they left the punt unit in, whatever. Okay. You take the penalty. It's still 1st and 15 from the 41-yard line. You have 3 plays to get a first down. Incomplete pass to Amari Cooper that sails out of bounds. A 6-yard pass to Malik Turner on a bubble screen. And then on 3rd and 9, you throw the ball 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage to Tony Pollard, and he gets 2 yards. And now you're kicking a 51-yard field goal down by 13. Just way too many times they got in their own way and couldn't figure out a way to get that one play they needed. Those 2 drives, I really feel like are the story of this game. They had no idea how to consistently gain chunk yards. They couldn't do it through the air. They couldn't run the ball at all. It's really frustrating, Landon, especially against the defense that we talked about this all week. The secondary is not good. Like, this is one of the worst secondaries in the NFL, and the Cowboys really never challenged them at all. They led the NFL in defensive pass interference calls, never even tried to draw one in this game.
And that's what's really frustrating to me is that, look, we talk about the kind of spectrum of pass rush and coverage, right? Like, you got to have a good amount of one to complement the other in order to get off the field on defense, right? If you have a pass rush coming, you don't have to cover as long. If you got good coverage, you can pass rush a little bit longer and get there, right? The Cowboys couldn't do either. Nope. The Cowboys, I mean, the Cowboys were unable to at times to kind of get pressure and stop things. I mean, there were different times when San Francisco was going down the field because Garoppolo had 5 seconds to throw the football when he had an opportunity. And on offense, the Cowboys didn't have any of that, right? Like that was the real problem is that the moments that the Cowboys did have pass protection, no one was getting open. And for good portions of this game, Dak had real struggles kind of, staying in the pocket and clean. And it was closing in on him quite quickly throughout the game. So what do you need to do? Try the quick game, try to get the ball out quick to your guys. And, it just didn't seem like, Cooper had some catches and, had a pretty decent day, but still like, it didn't seem like the Cowboys were able to get quick, easy throws going, get any kind of rhythm going, do anything to kind of keep the pass rush at bay. And so basically what happened is that they continue to just kind of pin their ears back, come after Dak. And since no one was able to kind of get free or get open, there's nowhere for Dak to go throw the football. And so it became kind of this, negative feedback loop that we talk about. Like Cowboys offensive line can't pass block long enough without holding somebody. and the Cowboys wide receivers can't get open quick enough for Dak to get the ball out so they don't have to hold. It's extremely frustrating.
And then on defense, I have mixed feelings about the defense. So they gave
Yeah.
up 341 yards, and a lot of that was in the first half. And then they settled down, right? They were much better in the second half at getting stops. They got a turnover. I'm going to read you their second half, basically play by play. 7 plays, 27 yards punt. 1 play, 26 yards touchdown. That's after the Dak interception. That's the Debo one. 5 plays, 15 yards punt. 4 plays, 18 yards interception. 9 plays, 23 yards punt. 4 plays, 11-yard punt. Like, they did a really good job of giving the Cowboys chances on offense, and the offense just didn't do it. So if we knew this was going to be a challenge, Kyle Shanahan's a really good offensive mind. If you told me going into this game the 49ers were only going to score 23 points, you take it, right?
I would. And that's the thing about that's so frustrating is that it played out exactly how we thought, right? Cowboys have a weakness in stopping the run, but that's okay. Every defense has weakness. It's okay to have the run game as your weakness on defense if you have an offense that's forcing the other team to be one-dimensional. But the Cowboys offense refuses to do that, and apparently refused to do that basically any other time short of the Tampa Bay game week 1. And I think that's what's really frustrating to me is that they could have won this game clearly just based on what happened in the game if they had played it better, if they just played it more correctly. But instead, they spent the entire first quarter with 8 plays, -3 yards on offense, and basically allowed in that time the 49ers to score 13, what should have been 21 points, to be honest. And say what you will about how well the 49ers played. They let you stay in this game. They kicked 3 field goals in a row instead of scoring touchdowns. And a couple times they lined up for field goals when they really should not have, and kept the Cowboys in this game. They provided the Cowboys plenty of opportunity to stay in this game when they had no business. And the Cowboys offense couldn't do anything to avail themselves of it, couldn't do anything to kind of come over it. They couldn't score points early to make the San Francisco offense one-dimensional. They couldn't score points when they were provided an opportunity by San Francisco in turnovers and late in the game when they were only down a touchdown. San Francisco gave Cowboys 2 miracles in the fourth quarter. 2 miracles. Two kind of turn-side of plays, like situations where you shouldn't have even gotten an opportunity to be in scoring position. The Cowboys were able to score on 1, and then the other 2, they couldn't find a way to finish the game. And that's ultimately tells the tale, is that they got opportunities and they weren't able to avail themselves of them.
The biggest problem I had with the Cowboys defense was just the penalties, right? Like on the first drive of the game, it's 3rd and 5, and Randy Gregory jumps offside, right? You have a 3rd down, which you get a stop, and Neville Gallimore gets hands to the face. Like, they just couldn't stay out of their own way. But as we saw, it really didn't even matter because the offense wasn't doing anything with the chances that the defense was giving them. So there's a lot of blame to go around in this team. I just don't think the defense deserves a lot of it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I said, I think the defense versus expectations versus what we expected.
Oh, yeah.
They played up to expectations. They did what we were asking them to. They
Elijah
gave the
Mitchell.
Cowboys,
I was going to say Elijah Mitchell averaged 3.5 yards per carry this game.
The Cowboys did what you had hoped they would do.
Yeah.
I mean, it was rough early on, but they survived the opening script, and then they kind of evened out and were able to take control of the game.
Yeah.
The Cowboys offense was never able to find any kind of stability, and that's ultimately what lost this game.
All right, let's talk about the Cowboys long term and how we kind of view the season as a whole. But before we do that, I want to tell you guys about BetOnline. BetOnline would like to wish you a happy new betting year as we continue our march to the playoffs and beyond. BetOnline remains the #1 spot for all the best sports wagering action for 2022. It's a new year and a new updated desktop and mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use promo code LOCKEDON to get started. From football, basketball, hockey, boxing, UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2022 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all of your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, so last night I was thinking about this game compared to other Cowboy playoff losses, like the Packer loss in 2016, the one in 2014. And even the Rams loss in 2018, I don't think this loss stings as much as those games because they just got outplayed in this one, right? Like I think they had legitimate cases to be made that they could have won all three of those games and they could have won this one, but they were pretty clearly the lesser team on the field, right? My bigger concern is if this team, the way it's currently constructed, can't even get out of the wild card round, we're about to lose a whole bunch of talent in free agency, Landon. If not now, when? Because I don't see this team getting much better going into next year.
Oh, I mean, I think they need to blow it up. I mean, like I don't know if I mean all the way blow it up, but honestly, like look, I mean, I've got a whole spiel here.
Okay.
I've been the guy, like I said, that has been, kind of let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Slow playing this, but they have their opportunity. They had their chance. Like this was the opportunity to kind of right all that. And I think even if we had seen an effort that was different and failed, I feel like it would have been better than what we got. But what we got was just more of the same for the last month. It wasn't any different. There wasn't any extra level of urgency. I couldn't tell that this was a playoff game based on, the way that the team was played or the way that the team was prepared. They were fully healthy. They were playing at home. They're playing a lower seed. There is no more excuses left. I'm at the point now where I think that they need a change in the coaching staff.
Head coaching staff, offensive coordinator, or what do you think?
Yeah, all that. Honestly, I think because the problem with this is that we've all heard rumors and the Adam Schefters and all the Jason LaCanforas and talking about the potential that if the Cowboys lost this game, McCarthy could potentially be on the hot seat. All of that was predicated on the idea of potentially making Kellen Moore or Dan Quinn the head coach. I don't want either one of those guys as my head coach right now. Maybe Dan Quinn, but Kellen Moore needs seasoning as an offensive coordinator. I'm not making the head coach. And any team that watched that performance last night and thinks that Kellen Moore is ready to be a head coach, good luck. Like, honestly, I think that the Cowboys need to consider changing the head coach. Maybe you keep Kellen Moore and see if you can develop him some more. But look, like the fact that they went into last night's game and try to roll out the same game plan, the same situation, just like the same stale crap that they've been rolling out for the last, month, and then just throw in a couple of like lateral trick plays and think that that's like enough to play in a playoff game. That was embarrassing. The Cowboys are way too talented of a roster to put out that kind of performance in a wild card playoff game, especially on offense. And the way that the offense is played in the last month, there's just no excuse at this point. I think I was willing to let it go for a certain amount of time, but we get into the playoffs and this is what you've come up with for the last month. Absolutely inexcusable. So to me, I think that they need to take a real look at kind of just realigning things. You're right that they have a lot of free agents on their roster, and maybe that's an opportunity as opposed to a slide against them. Maybe there's a chance to kind of rearrange things a little bit because to me, it's sort of like you're looking at the situation. Well, what do we do with Cooper? What do we do with some of these other folks on the wide receivers? It's like I don't know if I want Cooper back on the team based on what we saw from this year. I don't know that I want these guys back. I would love to get some consistency. I would love to find a way to get some of these guys that we could rely on to remain on this team. But what I'm really sick of, and I know I'm not the only Cowboys fan that feels this way, is that we've got a team full of stars that we can't rely on week to week. And that's just unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean, that I was a pretty big fan of Mike McCarthy all year long. I thought he did a good job, but this is after the game was the first time I was thinking, they at least need to consider making a change because they were undisciplined, right? Like obviously penalties, we talk about them all the time. They can be a little bit fluky, can be dependent on the crew, but a lot of their penalties last night were just undisciplined ones, right? And it just seemed like a whole team that was undisciplined. And it just felt like they came out so flat in this game, and I don't understand it, right? Like the 49ers walked the ball down the field on the first drive, and then the Cowboys' first drive, it was a sprint right rollout, a 2nd and 10 run and then a 3rd down basically throwaway. Like
It's like
that's
they
what
rehashed their same script from the last month. I mean,
I know.
that's the
I
thing
don't
that's
get
so
it.
frustrating. It's just that they are terrible with their opening scripts, which isn't a sign of a great offensive coordinator, to be honest. Like they have not started hot. I mean, how many times did they start hot this season? Like you can count on your hand how many times they started hot. It's and that's I look, I think we've all accepted the fact that they can finish these games strong and kind of find a way to pull it out at the end or not, right? Or they don't. But I'm tired of having to suffer through the first parts of game just for them to wake up, with 3 minutes left to go in the third quarter. Like that's just not a sign of a very well coached or very well organized team.
I don't disagree. I just kind of racking my brain. Is there an option out there for a head coach that you think would be better for this team? Because that's what I keep coming back to. Obviously, this game is very concerning for a lot of different reasons. But is there somebody out there that you think can actually come in and fix a lot of these problems?
No, I mean, look, I don't have anyone off the top of my head. This is all very fresh. I mean,
No, I mean, I get it, though, because I was doing the same exercise last night. It's like, okay, maybe this is just Mike McCarthy, right? Like, he'll get you into the playoffs, but you're just not going to trust him in playoff games. But I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. Look, I don't know if this is Mike McCarthy or if this. But all I know is that what I don't want is us to get this same group, the three coaches, and be like. First of all, we don't even know that that's going to happen. Obviously, one of these, two of these three may end up being head coaches.
Sure. Yeah,
but what I don't want is to be excited, have everyone to be excited about those three coming back. Because honestly, like we've seen enough of that over a month. I mean, look, I'm kind of keeping Quinn over to the side here a little bit. I'm not as upset with him, even though he's probably the most likely to be gone, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think that, but I think that the offense underneath Moore and McCarthy, that needs to be changed. It needs to be shaken up. And honestly, it reminds me of the situation with the offensive line coach and the offensive lineman, right? Where they ruled the roost. They picked their own offensive line coach and to their own detriment. They picked somebody who wasn't qualified and wasn't good enough to do the job. I kind of feel like that's what's happening at this point with Kellen Moore and Dak, right? Is that Dak likes Kellen Moore. Dak wants to develop this offense with Kellen Moore. But I don't know that Dak should be in charge of deciding who's doing that necessarily.
You're probably right. I
don't have good answers here. You're right. Like, that's the problem. There's no good answers here, right? Like I don't like. There's no. Let's go get so and so, or let's do this and this and that. Like I don't have any answers. Like this is all very fresh for us. All I know is that, like this is the show me game. That was the show me game. There's not like I've been the guy been slow playing this. Like let's see what they do. Let's see what they do. That was it. And they basically showed you exactly what they showed you for the last month.
Yeah.
That's not acceptable. That's not something that's going to get you to where you need to go. So you can either kind of continue to try to roll this out and hope that things get better, or you can pull the Band-Aid off and kind of start fresh and then, hope that something will kind of develop down a new path with a new coach and fresh ideas.
What's so frustrating is this is easily the healthiest team I think I've ever seen for the Cowboys, right? Like from your opening day roster, you had, was it 2 guys that weren't ready? Michael Gallup and Brent Urban, and I guess Jabril Cox, but right, like that's it, right? And that's the showing that you put out there at home against the wild card team that needed to win in the final week of the season to make the playoffs. Like, it's
and lost
really
their best player in the game. You know what I'm saying?
I know.
And you still couldn't take advantage of it.
It just really feels like if this team couldn't get a win in this situation with as talented as they are, how long is it going to be before they're even in this situation again? Right? I don't know, Landon. That was one of the most discouraged. Yeah.
Teams with less talent have gone further in the playoffs, right?
Oh yeah.
Like that's to me is like, that's the thing that's hanging these coaches right now is that look how much talent was on this team. I mean, Will McClay did an incredible job this year, of assembling talent. There's depth on this team. They've got a lot of great players, a lot of different spots. They've got superstars at all the key positions. And this was the result. Like, I don't know where
incredibly
else to put
frustrating.
blame besides coaching at this point.
Like I said, there was other games that were more frustrating to watch and more disappointing. Again, I'm going to point to the 2014, the Dez catch one, the 2016 loss to the Packers, but I think this is maybe the most disappointing season, right? Because at least in 2016, you won a playoff game, right? And you at least you had some momentum, and you got beat by Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau. You can live with that, right? Or that was 2014. 2016,
Yeah.
you got beat by Aaron Rodgers on a ridiculous
In
throw and a
Dallas.
ridiculous catch, right? This is different, right?
Yeah.
This is different.
Yeah. The
This is
Cowboys
one
were
of
the
worst
better team.
Yeah,
I understand that. I understand it was a bad matchup, but I mean, this is what you go through all the season for, is to play in these games, and the Cowboys just melted,
laid
just
an egg.
withered in the first 3 quarters of this game.
This game very easily could have been 21-0 in the first quarter. Very, very easily. They got lucky that the 49ers did a lot of 49ers things, right? Like they just stalled when they got in the red zone. If this game is 21-0, we're probably looking at it in even a worse sense, right?
I mean, they're putting their backups in at halftime. If
Yeah.
it's 21-0 at the end of the first quarter. Are you kidding me? Like, the Cowboys offense couldn't do anything at that point. And frankly, if it had been 21-0 at the end of the first quarter, it probably could have been easily 35-0 by halftime, just by the way the Cowboys offense and frankly at that point the defense was playing.
Yep.
So yeah, outside of San Francisco kind of letting Cowboys hang around several different times, and one of those touchdowns was basically off a turnover. So
it was,
it was
a 26-yard run by Debo.
Yeah, it was 26 yards they had to travel. So it's not like this, and again, it kind of goes back to the call that Shanahan made late in the game where he punted. I get that, man. Make the Cowboys drive 95 yards. They have not shown the ability to do that, and they didn't show the ability to do that at the end of the game either.
We're going to have a lot of time to talk about this game, to talk about the coaching staff, to talk about the offseason. Landon, these are going to be a long couple months here. A lot of questions that we're going to have answered.
But we're here for you. We're
here
we're all
every single
we're all
day.
in this together.
Good news is offseason never stops. We're gonna have to start Senior Bowl prep next week, right? Because we've got the Senior Bowl right around the corner. It's going to be a big draft for the Cowboys, considering all their holes they have. We've got free agency coming up. We've got the combine, the draft. I mean, just a ton of stuff. So make sure you are downloading and subscribing to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow the show at Locked On Cowboys. You can follow Landon at McCool BCB, and I'm at Marcus _Mosher. We'll see you guys next time.